I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we will have Morgan Sarah from Raw Middle School. She's also in the 8th grade, and she's accompanied by her father, Robert Sarah. And her school activities include Journalism Club and Builders Club. Her honors include Geometry Honors Enrollment, Biology Honors Enrollment, and she's an honor roll student. And her interests include music, performing arts, and journalism.
I think by far the most important bill in our code is the diffusion of knowledge among the people. No other sure foundation can be devised for the preservation of freedom and happiness. Quote by Thomas Jefferson.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you, Tobiana and Morgan. I suspect that the parents are here, and I think I see Dr. Small, who is the principal at the Raw Middle School. Stand, please. Give them a hand. Good to see you, Rob. Great job, ladies. We're happy to have you with us tonight. And, of course, you are invited to stay throughout the entire board meeting. I know you've been looking forward to that. But just in case you have some homework that you'd like to go and take care of, you may be excused to do that. But do bring your parents back with you for another board meeting. And thank you, Principal, for being there. And everybody knows that RA is on the Thorpe Street corridor. Give them a hand again. Thank you for being here.
It is, Madam Chair, if I may, before they leave, just 40 short years ago, I was an 8th grader at Augusta Raw Middle School.
40 short years.
40,
but about 36.
Easy,
No, 40,
easy.
Yeah.
So just 40 years ago, I was an 8th grader at Raw. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for being here, and Principal Smalls is doing an amazing job leading the Raw Rams. So thank you so very much for being here.
But just
and also, Madam Chair,
yes, ma'am.
My son attended Raw when I was teaching at Griffin School. So Superintendent Hammond, so it's been about 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. There you go. We have young board
He's
members.
the engineer today.
Great, great. Just before you leave, and do feel free to sit, we would like to ask you, our audience here in this studio with us tonight, and those who are listening and watching on television, to just pause with us for just a moment. We know that we have American sisters and brothers who are still going through very, very difficult times in Puerto Rico, and we certainly don't want to forget them. And as I said to a group the other day, we're so blessed and fortunate that we've not had that kind of physical hurt caused to us yet by Mother Nature. So those of you, and this is just a Joy Bowen plea, if you have goods that you think you can send, please let's help our brothers and sisters there as well as the well-wishers. And also we want to pause tonight for those parents, those families who have been the recipients of that atrociousness in Las Vegas. So could we just pause tonight and send our thoughts of well-being even that far, and to have them know that they are not forgotten. For just a moment, please. Thank you. And so, in case you've not noticed, the board, the women of the board, and the superintendent of the board, to include our attorney of the board, we're wearing pink tonight. And we're doing so in keeping with the recognition of October as being the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So in support of the victims and their families, and in support of the caretakers, and in support of hopefully finding a cure very, very soon for breast cancer, we sit tonight in encouragement to those who are having to go through this kind of illness. So just in case you were wondering, we thought we would share that with you. Is that all right? Thank you. Wonderful. All right, and now we're ready for our changes and additions to the agenda. Madam Vice Chair, would you read them?
Yes, ma'am. It's a short one tonight. Everybody pay attention. It's going to be quick. Superintendent recommends approval of changes and additions to the October 10, 2017 school board meeting agenda as presented. Number 1, item 18.24, settlement case SW and VW. Originally, the settlement agreement was posted under executive content. The document has been redacted for all students' identifiable information and has now been posted under public content. Number 2, item 11.04, Williams Communications, Inc., Tower Lease Agreement Reference only number 5505, replace documentation. Number 3, item 18.25, amended the 2017-18 school calendar, added documentation. Number 4, item 17.04, stipulated agreements, add case number LCS 2017-51, secondary. Number 5, item 6.03, approval personnel actions, October 10, 2017, add information to public content and add documentation. Number 6, item 18.01, Governor's Charter Academy School Improvement Plan, replace documentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Questions or comments from the board? The chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Louis Butler.
I move the change in addition to the agenda as printed.
Second.
Second by Board Member Wood. Questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Number 3, Superintendent Spotlight.
There is no spotlight this evening, Madam Chair.
Recognitions. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
There are a couple of recognitions. At this time, I'd like for Kelly Walker, our volunteer partner and mentor coordinator, to come up to make some special presentations. So, Kelly, come on up.
Good evening, Superintendent Hannah, Madam Chair, and school board members. I really appreciate the opportunity of speaking to you tonight on behalf of the Lien County Schools Volunteer Office. The Partners for Excellence program was formed in 1984, and it was a cooperative agreement between Lien County Schools and the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, whereby private businesses, governmental agencies, universities, and other organizations share their gift of time, talent, resources, and funding with our school system. For the 2016-17 school year, we had over 500 documented partnerships. And annually, each school nominates their outstanding business partners of the year. A selection committee reviews those nominations, and they choose the winners. And tonight, I am so happy to be able to share those results with you. We have 3 winners. The first winner, nominated by Roberts Elementary School, is In Focus Apparel, represented by its owners Andrew and Sarah Smith. I ask that Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Principal Matt Farland join us up front as I tell you a little bit about In Focus Apparel. So for the 2016-17 school year, in addition to funding various school activities and programs, In Focus Apparel also donated T-shirts for many events. In Focus Apparel has been the #1 sponsor of the Trent Trot, which is a 5K and 1-mile race held at Roberts Elementary School each year. Proceeds from that event are donated to the Trent Touch Incorporated, a foundation which provides financial support to families with children battling cancer. Because of generous donors like In Focus Apparel, the Trent Trot has raised over $22,000, assisting families whose children have been diagnosed with cancer. Congratulations and thank you, In Focus Apparel.
Take a group picture.
Yeah, if you'll go down
So
that
just
way
wanna
and just,
stand over-
yep,
there
be
you go.
perfect. Thank you. Next up, we have our large business category winner, nominated by Deer Lake Middle School, and that category winner is Red Elephant Pizza and Grill, represented by Mr. Mike Abbott. I ask that Mr. Abbott and Principal Scotty Crow please come forward at this time. For the 2016-17 school year, Red Elephant Pizza and Grill donated 300 cookies for the All-American Heroes Rally, 800 coupons for student encouragement each grading period, and free appetizer cards to help raise funds for PTO initiatives. In addition, they participate in the Taste of the Lakes at the Buck Market as a food vendor. They also hosted a share event, and that event generated $200, and that helped make the school dance possible that year. And Mr. Abbott also served as a history fair judge for the school. So thank you, Red Elephant, and congratulations. Okay, and our last category winner in the government, agencies, and nonprofits organization category is Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend, nominated by Hartsfield Elementary School. Big Brothers Big Sisters is represented by Miss Kara Yancey. I ask that she come forward. I'm not sure if Dr. Flanagan's here. I hear the traffic is really bad out there, so Miss Yancey, if you'll come forward, please. During the 2016-17 school year, Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend matched more than 60 mentors with Hartsfield Elementary students. The school experienced a 6-fold increase in the number of mentors from the previous year. These positive adult role models help the children of Hartsfield Elementary find academic success, obtain high self-esteem, and demonstrate better behavior. Hartsfield's partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend has helped the students tremendously, ensuring their future academic and personal success beyond elementary school. Congratulations, Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I would like to personally thank all of our business partners. They made such a significant difference in the lives of our students each and every day. Thank you.
Well, real quick, we're going to come up and take a picture, but I just want to brag about Kelly for a little while and all that she's done for our school system. I know she serves Scotty well, but we've taken her now, and she's on to bigger and better things. But she shared a document with me a few minutes ago that Kelly single-handedly has helped raise over $600,000 since she's taken over in this position. So I just want to say
we're coming down front for a picture, ladies.
Y'all come on up on the stage.
We gotta get a picture with you.
Like Oprah.
Board members, could you stay up here for just a moment? Thank each of you. Thank you, Kelly, for your outstanding words. Sharonda, Ms. Brown, Ms. Henson, come on up, please. We want to get a picture with our staff folks. All folks, would you come up, please, for a picture in pink? Chris, would you do this? Thank you. It won't take but a minute. We like each other, so let's just kind of turn. Is this right? Is this right? Yeah, that's right. Where is the superintendent? Here it is.
Oh, I'm invited? Okay. All right.
Did we get everyone? Okay. Right hands down. Chins up so that we all can look 21. Let's get closer, closer. You're fine. Almost representative. Thank you, ladies. And Sarah, all one more. So excited. Thank you, Team Leon. We'll find another way. Thank you, Ms. Walker. We appreciate the wonderful work that you do. We're good because you all do so many wonderful things. So that was In Focus Apparel, The Red Elephant, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Thank you very much. And now we're ready for reports to be heard. Item 50.1, the District Advisory Council. Is there a report tonight?
None.
None tonight? Okay. 5.02, the District Advisory, Student District Advisory Council. Is there a report?
None.
None tonight. Title I Advisory Council?
None.
Cornerstone Solutions, Job Corps.
Yes, Madam Chair. This time I'd like to ask Dr. Kathleen Rogers if she would come up and introduce the people who are here to speak to you.
All right.
From Job Corps and
Wonderful.
Cornerstone Solutions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are excited to share with you our partnerships with Cornerstone Solutions. Just this past June, you signed a memorandum of understanding with Cornerstone Solutions. This partnership gives our students an opportunity to make connections with what they're learning in the classroom, with job score skills in order for them to be successful. I'd like to, at this time, to bring Dr. Pamela Ligon up, and she'll share a little bit more about Cornerstone Solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I would like to say so much thanks for having myself. Ron Jones, the president of Cornerstone Solutions, could not be here this evening. He had a business emergency. Ron is a native of Tallahassee. He's a graduate of Leon County and FAMU, and he has very strong roots here in Tallahassee. So this means a lot. This partnership means a lot to Cornerstone Solutions and to partner with Leon County Schools. The Job Corps program is a program for young people between the ages of 16 to 24 who may be struggling or having a difficult time in the traditional educational setting. So we are beyond excited and proud to partner with Leon County Schools to offer young individuals another opportunity to further their education. We do have centers in Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Miami, and it is a residential program. We will be working exclusively with your guidance counselors, and I will be working directly with Dr. Rogers to identify individuals who may be able to take part in the Job Corps program. Again, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak with you all today, and I do look forward to the partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ligon. Questions, anyone?
Madam Chair, if I may, just real quick, y'all have questions?
Not yet.
All right. I just want to say thank you because there is as Dr. Rogers well knows, I worked with this population for a number of years. There is a huge need for your program and for Job Corps in this community, and I think we could take every seat you have available over in Jacksonville, to be honest with you. But it breaks your heart, some of these kids' stories. They're helpless and they're hopeless, and they don't see a lot to turn to. And you all to be able to get them kind of out of their environment here, over in a safe place in Jacksonville, to give them training, to help them with the GED, to get them a job. It's just, it really saves some of these kids' lives. And I just want to say thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Okay. 5.05, and thank you, Dr. Rogers, as well. Southeast Region America Cancer Society.
Yes, Madam Chair. This time I would like Danielle Capel and Tracy Thompson with the American Cancer Society to come forward and share some information with you. Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here with you tonight. I am the community manager for both the Relay for Life of North Leon, which happens at Childs High School, and the Relay for Life of Leon Havana, which takes place at Leon High School. And we're here tonight to thank the entire school system for their support of our 2017 event season. Collectively, between both events, the schools in Leon County raised almost $50,000 for the American Cancer Society. And over the past 3 years, Leon County schools have raised nearly $150,000 for our organization. And that translates to 3,000 nights of free lodging for someone who may need to travel to receive their cancer treatment, or 7,500 patients helped through our 24/7 hotline, where patients can call and ask questions about their diagnosis. Our partnership with the school system is absolutely critical, and we appreciate your support so much. I also want to very quickly recognize the top 5 schools that raised the most money this past year in 2017. First up, we had Montford Middle School, represented by Stacy Thompson, and they raised nearly $8,000 for the Relay for Life at Childs. Childs High School, led by Val Witters, raised over $6,000 for 2017. Chairs Elementary School, led by Stacy Ball, raised $5,500. Roberts Elementary raised $5,400, led by Krista McGrain. And to round it out, Deer Lake Middle School raised $4,800, led by Betsy Penn. And we want to thank all of the schools that participated this past year, and especially these folks who kind of led the pack. At this time, I want to present this plaque for the 2017 event season, and again, thank the entire school system for their support of our Relay for Life event. And we do appreciate you all wearing your pink to support breast cancer this month. And we encourage any of you who would like to come out to our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer event on the 22nd to join us at Cascades Park for that. So we do appreciate your support. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, ladies. Give them a hand, please. Did you bring any of the representatives from the schools that you called out? They're not with you here tonight?
No, they are not.
But I think we still should get a picture with the superintendent, so come up.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yes, we need that. Let's go back and get a picture. Dr. Gale, you need to be with us this time, please. Put on your jacket. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ladies. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
And speaking of Montford Middle School, who was #1 on the list tonight, they're having a share night at Moe's. So on your way home, you want to stop by Moe's and get you something to eat. 10% or 15% of the proceeds will go to help them, and they're raising money for this year's event to be held at Childs High School in May, right? May 4th. There you go.
Oh, good. Great, 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 great. All right, moving right along on our agenda, 5.06, Minority Enterprises Development Week, October 3rd through the 6th, 2017. Mr. Superintendent, is there a...
Yes, ma'am. This time I'd like Rod McQueen to wears many hats this year, and one of them is he's working with our small business entrepreneurs and developing our small business opportunities within our school system. So, Rod, I'm going to let you make some very special presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chairperson, board members. I'm honored to be before you today with a different report where we're honoring distinguished individuals who have more than worthy of these awards. Back in 1983, President Ronald Reagan recognized the first week of October as Minority Enterprise Development Week, and this was done to recognize and celebrate the achievements and the contributions that small and minority and women-owned businesses have brought to our community. And last week was identified as midweek here in Tallahassee, and my chairperson of the midweek committee, Ms. LaTanya Raffington, she and several other members from Florida State University and other partners here in Tallahassee recognized 3 distinguished individuals for their outstanding commitment to the community here. And first, I'd like to recognize Superintendent, if you come here with me. The Women-Owned Business of the Year, and let's read a short snippet from the proclamation. That says, recognized as Miss Lucy Ho. Miss Ho is recognized as one of the hardest working women in our community for her industrious and second to only to her humility. In 2015, she was issued an honorary doctorate degree for humanitarian letters for the University from Florida State University for her beautiful opera costumes and design. Her amazing small business success and her innovativeness, she is totally a legend and worthy of such a distinguished award. I'd like to call forth Miss Lucy Ho for this proclamation.
I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. Live on 6th Avenue. You make me very proud. I'm very happy.
The next honoree we want to recognize is for the Minority Business Owner of the Year, Mr. Mutaki Akbar, excuse me, sir. And I'll read a short snippet from his proclamation. The Leon County School District is pleased to recognize Mr. Mutaki Akbar, whose law firm and practices serve citizens of the North Florida area for adoption, family law, personal injury, criminal justice, criminal appeals. With over a decade of practice, his legal career is specifically geared toward criminal defense. He is particularly motivated and important of fulfilling the representation of minorities and the criminal justice systems, and is committed to providing personal attention to all of his clients. And with that, I want to bring forth Mr. Mutaki Akbar.
Yeah.
The next recipient for the Dr. Reggie Roll Award is actually a personal friend of mine, Congressman Alfred Lawson, who could not be here tonight, but was able to have his lovely wife come and receive this proclamation. I'll read a short snippet from his proclamation. Congressman Lawson, who was born and grew up in Leon in Midway, Florida, graduated from Havana Northside Middle School. He's a graduate of Florida A&M and has earned his bachelor's degree in political science. As most of you may know, Congressman Lawson also has a small directory publication known as the Capital City Black Pages, which has served this community for over 28 years. He's also, is an insurance agent, or is an insurance agent, of Northwestern Mutual Financial Network. He also started his own marketing and communication firm, Lawson Associates. Congressman Lawson, who's devoted more than half of his life to public service and is guided to belief of greatness in the gift of individuals that can be served in his and her community. With that, I bring forth Ms. Dolores Lawson.
Need to move again.
Board members, would you like to take a picture with the honorees, please?
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent and Mr. McQueen. That was quite a showing. I suspect that each one of us up here know at least all of these recipients in some way or the others. when and before I retired from Florida State University, I ate at Lucy Ho's restaurants as often as I could because the food was just that good. And Senator Lawson has been, as you said, an insurance agent around this town for a while, and Dr. Lawson, his wife, is here tonight. Matafi Agba is out the door, but nonetheless important in the service that he has provided. And so we do, in fact, support small business entities in this county. Please continue to stay with us, and it's good to see you, Ms. Raffington, as well.
And before I go, Madam Chair, I'd like to let the community know, as well as the board, that we're having a meet and greet with the superintendent on Thursday morning here in this boardroom, where we're inviting all the small business in the community to come and learn about our policies and procedures for small business and recognize and meet the superintendent.
Okay, that's a wonderful thing, because one of the things I was going to ask tonight, I think I may have already broached the subject with him, is that we're very much interested in what our small business office is doing right now. And so more information to be shared in the future about where we're going and the cooperation and collaboration and how we mean to get that word out would be most helpful. So we look forward to it.
And we'll be doing that, Madam Chair, and this is a good first step. And we have the right man for the job standing right here. And I've heard, you know, during the campaign, there were concerns from businesses about how do I get a chance? I just want a level playing field, and that's what we all promise people. It's just an opportunity, and Rod's going to make sure that happens. So thank you, Rod.
Thank you. We're on the same page. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, award recipients. All right. Item 6, school board meeting minutes. You probably have read them. 6.02. Under item of consent, that's where we are right now.
Move approval.
Move approval by Board Member Wood.
Second.
Second by Lewis Butler. Questions? Hearing none, the items of consent stand approved unanimously. We need to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. Okay. And now we're ready for item number 18.01. Governor's Charter Academy School Improvement Plan. Mr. Superintendent, is Mrs. Owens going?
She is.
That?
Very briefly, yes, Madam Chair. I know we went on for a while yesterday on some of those workshops that were very important for us to get that information to you. But at this time, I'd like Ms. Owens to present item 1801.
Thank you.
Florida statutes require that a charter school that earns a grade of D or F develops a school improvement plan for approval by the school board, and they also have to present to you how they plan to implement that plan. So tonight we have with us the principal from Governor's Charter that earned a D. It didn't earn an F, but the principal from Governor's Charter, James Simpson, and a representative from Charter School USA, Adam Cross, who works very closely with Governor's Charter. I have to say that we have spent an awful lot of time with their school improvement plan, and I want to thank them for collaborating with us as we work through that plan, and they worked very, very hard to make the changes we recommended. We are very we have in teaching and learning have approved the plan, and we would recommend that to you for approval after they present to you and you're comfortable with their presentation. Okay.
Works.
Good evening, board. We appreciate the time tonight. My name is Adam Cross. I am the regional director for North Florida for Charter Schools USA. I stand before you tonight, and we recognize that we are a D school. We own that. We have some things in place that we feel will correct that very quickly. I'm very comfortable with the man to my right here who has done a great job in leading a quick turnaround of that school, and I'm excited to listen to him share what he has in store for you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Thank you, Superintendent Hannah, for having me here. Appreciate it. I started some 27 years ago here in Leon County as a teacher at Lincoln High School. That's what started my adult life, so to speak, with Bill Mumford. And here I am making a full circle back to Tallahassee as a principal of Governor's Charter. I'm Jim Simpson. I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our school improvement plan, tell you about our goals, and then tell you some of the things that we're going to do over at Governor's Charter to get the school back to where it is, to make sure the kids are being successful, and that's ultimately our goal, to make sure they're all being successful. I think do I have a clicker, or how do we go through that? I just look at you and say click? That'll work? Okay. So overall, what you see before you there, that's, now you've got a copy of our school improvement plan. That's the big 65-page document. This PowerPoint's just 7 or 8 or 9 slides, just kind of highlight the gist of everything. This first slide here, what this is this just shows the overall scores from 2 years ago, the scores from last year that brought everything down to a D. And you can see it was a D by just a point or two. And then you can see our goals that we've got there. That's the third column for this year. Growth is what really dropped. It was a dramatic growth drop last year. So that is our focus this year, is really just making sure that the kids grow. The goals for growth you'll see are a higher percentage than everything else is where we're going. And we'll talk about these more specifically in just a second. But all the targets that we've got set for next year are higher than last year and closer to the year before, when everything in 15-16, when everything was a C at that point. So our school-wide goal really is this, and this is our mantra over at the school, is that every kid needs to leave us better than when they got to us. Daily, monthly, semester, but most definitely by the end of the year, they need to leave us better than when they got to us. Okay? So we have 3 goals. May have to click it a couple times there. We have 3 goals. The first goal is simply growth, as we talked about. And you see there, click it one more time, I think, there they are. Okay, so the growth for ELA, and then the lower quartile, you'll see there is 4 and 10%. That's our goal. And then math is a little bit higher there. Math had a bigger hit last year, dropped significantly. So therefore, we're going to expect a few more gains to get that back up to where it needs to be. But you can see our goals there are 45 for ELA and 40 for math, but just to get those back up to where they go. Our second goal is proficiency. You can see there the growth there is much smaller. The growth in those are much as high. Going back to, again, what is our focus in the school? It's just to grow. Make sure the kids leave us better than when they got to us. Making sure that they're all making gains is what it is, to try and close that gap. If you'll see there, the first column there, the 40, 31, 31, 39, that's where they were at the end of last year. So basically what we have is almost 2/3 of our school is not proficient at the end of last year. So you'll see why proficiency isn't our main focus, but to make sure that we try and close that gap, to try and get the kids to make some gains as we move forward. As I mentioned, this does bring our grade back to a C. I'll tell you honestly, though, this is minimal growth. I'll be disappointed if we're a low C. We have a lot bigger things in store. Ultimately, the student success is what it's about. And, of course, the school grade reflects that. So how are we going to get there? So these next few slides are just kind of the things that we've got in store to go forward, our action steps. First of all, there is a new administrative team, including me, the new principal. I came in at the end of last year, late March, after spring break. So it was the last 9 weeks of the year. Kind of band-aided everything that was there to salvage what we could for the rest of the year. So moving forward, here we are. We've added an assistant principal. There's never been an assistant principal at the school. Now we have an assistant principal, a new dean of students, student services coordinator. And what that is that's a point person for ESE, RTI, ESOL, all those sorts of things, and other things, but he or she's the point person for those things. And I say 1.5 positions because that's a position that's within the school, but on top of that being a new person is in that position, we have some support coming from another student services coordinator at a school in Jacksonville that comes over every week to provide support and training, basically, to make sure that the student services coordinator knows what to do to follow the procedures and make sure everything's up to snuff. Curriculum resource teachers, CRTs, also known as academic coaches. They're dedicated to improving the instruction and providing support. And what I mean by that is, yes, My main goal when I hire somebody is make sure they're dedicated and they have the right heart. You know, anybody can write the answers, but what I mean is dedicated. But that's not the dedicated one I'm talking about. What I'm referring to here is that 100% of their job is to ensure that the teachers are improving in their practice. They're all about teacher support. So I have 2 people that are on campus to do nothing more than to just go around and help teachers get better at their practice. We all know that the best thing, the most important thing in a student's life isn't which program we're using and all that. It's the person that's in the room, they're leading all that. And so what we have is 2 people that just go around to help building practices, studying, giving feedback, and things like that. I'll talk a little bit more about that on this next slide. So other things that we've got, so one of our goals, it's not written as the goal, but one of our main things is that we need to improve the instruction. We have a very, very young staff. We need to make sure that we have good teaching going on. Like I said, the most important thing in the kids' education is that person, the teacher that's in the classroom. So we have a professional development schedule just to include some proven successful strategies. And I wrote a few up there. Learning goals, engagement, making sure that kids are not being compliant, but they're engaged in the lesson. They're part of what's going on. Collaboration, kids teaching kids. Not the teacher up there talking, but kids being a part of what's going on. Of course, the deeper knowledge, you know, getting to the why, how, explain to me how you did this. And then, of course, making sure that we know that our kids got it, that they understand what's going on, checking for understanding. Notice none of those things are programs to sell. That's just good instruction. It's just good teaching is what that is. The TFED is it's our evaluation tool, but it's based off of Marzano's indicators. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And it's a tool built around that. And what we do there is we go through those, and it's a growth. It's a growth for the teachers. You know, somebody might be at developing, but where do we go from there? It's not about oh, you've been marked for that. It's how do we get better from there, and that gives you strategies to improve. So it's all about a feedback tool to improve the instruction. We do data meetings or team meetings bi-weekly, every other week. Formally with the admin team, and then more informally with the CRTs, those academic coaches, every other week. And that's all, again, in the name of support, and then also how to go through data. We do a lot of data, Governor's Charter, instructional software. We have several different software programs that we use. NWEA is the norm-based growth measurement. Standard mastery assessments. We do that after every standard that's taught. Do little Sims tests, little 5-question tests. But all that data is used to guide the planning. Back to the CRTs, they do coaching cycles, and what those are is to get those teachers, and they basically just put them in a queue and then start with a teacher and do some, the cycle is basically sit down, talk with them, where are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, get them to do some peer observations, a lot of watching other teachers that are really good at different strategies and figuring out ways that they can grow, and then doing some reflections, and then concentrating on those little things, those baby steps, just little by little by little, how can they get better at this and this, and then continue on to a different strategy after that. So along with quality instruction, then of course we must have a good curriculum. The instructional time, we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum that's where it's focused on the standards using the maps. The teachers, we spend a lot of time unpacking the standards, getting down to purposeful lessons and team planning. So again, that goes back to just those PDs and making sure the teachers have good instructional strategies. One of the things that I'm quite certain what happened with the dip from last year, after coming in and kind of seeing what was happening, is there was not really an MTSS or RTI process happening. It wasn't there. You could see where it maybe had started, but then just kind of just fell apart and not much was happening. So we have procedures and processes in place now to make sure that those kids that need that extra help or need that be identified, hey, this is where they're going and what they need, are there. And we've got some processes in place. We have an RTI specialist that comes up monthly just to add support to the CRTs and to the student services coordinator. We've added 2 intervention teachers, 2 positions that are strictly for that, to do some pull-outs and push-ins for those students that are identified that need that extra help, that need the one-on-one or small grouping. And then I listed a few tools there that we actually use for the RTI process, Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. Oh yes, I was trying to think, what did I write on the last bullet there? So the other piece of the RTI though is this, RTI a lot of times you think, oh, well, it's just for the kids that struggle academically, but it's not. We have the early warning signs of all the different categories, the attendance and behavior and low scores on FSA and all that kind of good stuff. So one thing that we make sure we do is we don't just grab the kids with low academics that the teachers have identified as that, but also kids that are having behavior problems. If they have 2 or more referrals within school or out of school suspension, kids that are missing more than 10% of school. We start doing some SST, when I say SST, student support team meetings, to get the parents in and get the team together and say, what can we do to help this child and make sure they're coming to school, that their behaviors are in control, and that their academics, we can help and support their academics. So, student support, a few things for student support there. We have tutoring that's offered after school. Right now we're doing it 2 days a week and on Saturdays. This is not an expense to any parents. It's just part of what we do. We do it from 3:30 to 5 after school, and on Saturdays it's a 4-hour program, 3-hour program, and build it with some themes and things like that. It's not just a homework help though. Sometimes you think, oh, tutoring, how can I help you with your homework? It's actually more directed, intentional instruction. So we get we've identified kids that need that tutoring, maybe the lower quartile kids or kids that didn't score well on the beginning of the year NWEA, so that we can say, what is it that they need help with? And so maybe they're in the math tutoring, and then we're reteaching certain concepts. It's not just, well, what was your homework? How can I help you? It's an extended school day is what it is. As the year progresses, we'll add, we'll increase tutoring from 2 days to 4 days as we get closer to testing season. We'll also include, and you can see there, some of the other important things, the science, algebra, civics, as we get closer to that. We don't give, when we're talking about standards-based assessments, we don't give grades for things that aren't assessments. There's no grades for practice. Everything is based on what is it that you're doing? Are you meeting the standard? It's almost like a standards checklist. Are you meeting this? Are you meeting this? Which standards do you know? Which ones do you don't? It's the great analogy that I always love to give is, Tom Brady's a great quarterback. How many yards did he pass in practice last week? Well, nobody knows because we don't keep up with that. But how many yards did he pass last week in the game? Well, that's what we keep up with. So the same thing with the kids. We're practicing. So we don't want to give kids grades on practice. We give grades on their assessment on the game day, on what it is, to see that they're doing that. So that's kind of the academic end of it. Our third goal that's in the school improvement plan is satisfactions, for lack of a better word. This is verbatim right out of the school improvement plan there. We just want to improve our overall parent satisfaction as measured by our survey to achieve at least 90% satisfaction. I would love for that to be 100%. As you guys are all on the school board and superintendent, I'm sure you understand we're not going to be at 100%, right? There's always those couple that you go, uh-oh. But that's our goal, is to just make sure that we have a good relationship, not only with the parents but also with the community. And what we have here is the main thing. The first thing that I had to do. Next slide, please. The first thing that we had to do is make sure that we have a safe and orderly campus. One of my favorite sayings is chaos can't rule. Not in a school. We have to make sure the kids are in order and the behaviors are under control, and that we have processes and procedures so that the school is orderly and that it's safe and the kids can come there to do what? To learn, which is what we got to do. We got to take care of business when we're there. We're doing this administrative presence everywhere, classrooms, hallways, cafeteria, everywhere, and setting up these expectations and procedures with the teachers and making sure we're just following through as a school. Positive behavior programs we have in place, rewards and celebrations. I don't think there was a lot of celebrations there last year. Kids are kids. We got to pat them on the back, tell them what a great job they did when they do their great job. And reward them. So we'll have honor roll celebrations, all sorts of just different ways to say, you're doing the right thing, keep it up, keep it up. We've implemented Educator's Handbook, which is a software, which is it tracks discipline, but at the same time it also tracks positive behavior so that we can reward those students. The Leader in Me is I'm sure you've heard of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People. The Leader in Me is a program that follows, it's a curriculum that follows that, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. Basically what it says is every kid has the potential to be a leader. Every kid does. And so what we got to do is find it within that kid in whatever way it is. So it's a supplemental structure. It's a supplemental curriculum that's taught within each of the grade levels K through 5, and then it's taught within our social studies class in 6th grade. And it's a curriculum that lasts a few years. So even though it's 7th and 8th graders, we have 7th and 8th graders. They're introduced to it a little bit, but it's because it's a longer program and we're just implementing it. It's not like, you know, if you start with 8th graders and they leave you next year, so. And then the last thing, which I think is probably the most important thing, is building those relationships with the parents in the community. You know, we get parent volunteers up at school to do different things around campus, but really it's the other piece of it that we have to support each other. Schools, no matter whether it's Governor's Charter or any school within Leon County, teachers and administrators, they can't do it alone. Parents can't raise their kids alone. We have to do it together, and we have to work together. So we have to support each other. The parents have to support the school, and the school has to support the parents. And we have to have that open door policy to say, what can we do to help each other and make sure, ultimately, that the kids are successful in what's going on. So bottom line is, at the end of the year, at the end of the time that the kids are at Governors, we need to make sure that they're ready for high school, whether it be Lincoln, where I started, or any of the other schools in Leon County, to make sure that they're ready for that. And so our goal is we're going to raise the bar. We're going to make sure that we have high expectations and keep those high expectations. And like I said, every kid's going to leave us better than when they got to us. That's us. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have from that or from looking at our school improvement plan, or invite you out, come out and see us anytime you like. And thanks for having me.
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you, and I can appreciate the fact that you're new, so this is not, would you just, because some of us have read the backup, but for those who may be watching, can you just kind of give us a snapshot of your student population, kind of what you're, and clarify for us? I know there are some charter schools where parents have to sign a memorandum of understanding, and they have to give a certain amount of sweat equity hours, and they have to do this, that, and the other. So what's the...
We have, last year when I came in, there were close to 700 kids. Of course, with everything that went wrong last year, we lost quite a few. There's a little over 500 right now. So there's 500 and some odd kids right now, 520-ish. The population is about 85% minority. We're right at about 70% free and reduced. Of course, everybody, there's no buses. There's no bus service brings in, so parents have to bring their kids into school.
Do you have a lottery for the, how do you select?
Well, there would be a lottery, but we're not at full capacity yet. Okay. So right now, it's pretty much you apply, you're going to get in. Now we have, you know, there's certain, I mean, you got to follow the processes and everything. But at this point, there's not a point to, you know, it's not like there's competition to go, oh, there's no space for you. So, so
you don't turn anybody down based on a entrance exam or GPA?
No.
Okay.
No, none of that. There was something else you asked right at the beginning.
Parental involvement.
Parental involvement. Yeah. Well, one of the things that the agreement when you enroll your kid is that you'll agree to do 20 hours of volunteer service over the course of the year. Whether it's you, your grandmother, your grandparent, your aunt, whoever, somebody, you know, related to the kid. And that's all goes back to that whole building that relationship. It's not contingent upon anything. The truth is there's no checks and balances on it. It's an honor system. We want you to come in and do 20 hours. Our door's open. Come in and let's make this happen.
And do you mind if I just, a couple of, again, at the 30,000 foot level, your budget, you have, what do you have that's above and beyond what you get for FEFP?
You don't have to help me with that one.
What's the question again?
With regard to your budget, I'm just trying to understand, you get, obviously, you know, the same kind of per student funding that we get. What do you have additional corporate resources, other sponsorships, things that enhance your budget to provide the Saturday school, for example, or the...
It's just built into their yearly budget. They're very frugal with the dollars they get. There are some bonds out there that coexist with some of the schools, but mainly we just try to do a lot less. Or a lot more with a lot less. More with
yeah,
we try to just
examine. We're very familiar with that concept.
Yeah.
And Saturday school, is that required?
No, it's part of the tutoring program, just like the after school tutoring. It's not a requirement, but it's highly encouraged. Hey, Mom.
Sure, I got it.
We're here to do it.
I didn't know if you had a way to make them show up.
Well, you know, there's incentives. You know, we give them lunch and, things like that, and try and make it fun. The Saturday schools are more theme-based, and they're more for the elementary, so we try and make them into fun days.
And do you do summer school?
We'll do some summer academies next summer. I came in at the end of last year.
Okay.
There was no way in the world that was going to happen, but we'll do that. We'll do that next year to stop the summer slide. Basically, it won't be to progress, but to just keep things going, keep reading and things like that.
And just one final question. In addition to the COVI leadership curriculum, do you primarily focus on the core academic courses, or do you have extracurricular activities and clubs and other things like that?
There are, at the elementary level, we are, grades 2 through 5, they're one-to-one iPads, and so they all have a technology class. We have PE, we have Spanish is offered 4th grade, 5th grade, and then middle school. And then even in the middle school, they'll do, we have Spanish 1, high school Spanish 1. I'm forgetting one, PE, art, and we have art as well. So those are all those classes are offered K through 8. Extracurricular stuff, we have football team, basketball team, soccer, baseball. We play the other charter schools and private schools around town. We have a marching band that's in the middle school. They go to a lot of events within the city, a lot of different things. They've won some awards, some great awards, some great things there. A lot of things that the kids can buy into that are extra things that
Makes
that
school
are
more fun.
Yeah, makes school fun.
Ms. Triplin.
Thank you. So I find this all very fascinating. So I have several questions. So bear with me. So from your demographics, it sounds like you're almost like a Title I school, in which our Title Is receive additional funding for additional services. Do you receive that additional?
We're not at that threshold. We're at 70% right now, and I think the threshold for Leon County is, I don't know the exact numbers, like 72 or 73. We're just under the threshold, so we don't receive any Title I.
Not receiving any additional. So what percentage of your income goes to your parent company?
What percentage of the income from, I don't even know how that works. I don't know. Huh.
But you do pay, you're a for-profit, correct? So a chunk of your money goes to an overhead or some kind of, you don't know what percentage?
I wouldn't even begin to know.
Wouldn't even begin to guess. Okay.
Just given a budget and say, here, go and make school happen.
Do your kids, so your younger kids, do they receive, are they identified as kids that might have some disabilities or need some IEPs? Do you have what we have in the public school system?
We have, yes, we do. We have 3 ESE resource teachers, one for K2, one for 3-5, one for 6-8, so they're broken up by grade level, basically. So the kids that carry IEPs that come in, we do everything just the same. The only thing that we don't have are self-contained ESE classrooms. So if someone has that and they've applied, typically then at an IEP meeting it would say, well, we don't have those services. But beyond that, anyone else with an IEP that comes in, all the services are provided. As a matter of fact, a school psychologist and a staffing specialist from Leon County Schools comes over once a week just to help coordinate those meetings with the parents and get all the paperwork done.
Okay. Do our kids turned away for any reason because of disabilities, or do you encompass all disabilities?
Yep.
Okay. Before and after school care, do you have that?
Yep. Before school starts at 7 o'clock, and then after care goes from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
Okay. And do you have a library?
There's not one library. There's the way the school's set up is with each grade is in its own little pod like this, and there's a common area, and then there's 4 or 5 classrooms, and so within each grade level there's a grade level library. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's not one big library, but just several little libraries.
Okay, but no overall media center, right. But traditional.
No media specialists.
Okay. Do you have a mascot? I have a lot of questions.
We're the Knights.
The Knights.
Yep, Governor's Charter Academy Knights.
Okay. And I drove by the other day. I'd ask Miss Owens about this. I thought y'all had undergone a name change. I saw something outside, a big banner, and it was no longer Governor's Charter. It was advertising something else. Can you help us understand what that is?
That was what that's what got the newspaper, the Tallahassee Democrat, all
was
excited
it in there?
too. Yeah. Well, he that's what he got him excited. He said everything changed. I said no, nothing's changing. What that was a banner had come in the mail over the summer, and it was about about our Cambridge program. And so so it's hung up above an enrollment sign, and it says Cambridge is at Governor's Charter. I don't remember the exact wording, but Cambridge, what the Cambridge program is it's a curriculum. It's a more rigorous curriculum that is taught in first through fifth grade. And what it is for the students that just need that extra enrichment, that need that extra push. Maybe not identified as gifted, but need the extra challenges. So they're grouped together, and then what happens is then the class does the regular, I'm just going to say fourth grade. The fourth grade teachers all do the fourth grade curriculum, but the kids that are in that Cambridge class, then what happens is they get this curriculum in addition to it. And it's built, and it comes from Cambridge University, and so it's different, it's a more worldly curriculum and just taught more things is what it is.
All right.
So it wasn't a name change. It was just saying, hey, Cambridge is here. And
Okay. Will the sign go, does that Cambridge, will the banner and Governor's Charter will be back up as far as a visible name, or Cambridge, the banner will stay there?
I mean, I could take it down anytime. I just put it up because it was saying, hey, we've got Cambridge. Cambridge isn't the name of the school or anything.
Okay.
It's a separate curriculum.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
it was confusing to me, so I'm thinking it might be confusing to the people that are driving by looking for Governor's Charter. I was actually really surprised when we saw it.
Because you saw it say Cambridge and thought, oh, that's the Cambridge
I thought
school.
it was a new, I thought maybe y'all had been gone to a name or something.
That's good to know.
Same change.
I think my only concern would be, I mean, obviously, you guys, there's an improvement plan, so there's reason for concern. But it seems that the goal is to get back to a C, and I think, am I hearing there's maybe a higher aspiration? Because I think we would all agree a C. We want to do better than that.
I'd be really disappointed for a C.
Okay.
I'm going to be really disappointed for a C.
Good to hear. All right, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lewis Butler.
Yes, what about your discipline problem? Do you have discipline problems?
Our kids are angels.
I knew it.
All kids need some structure and some guidance. Here's what I've said since I've met the kids. These kids aren't bad. They're good kids. They just need structure, and they need to know which way, make good decisions. I've taught in a lot of schools. I've been an administrator in schools where there's been a lot of things, drugs, lots of fights, all that kind of stuff. None of that. I don't have any of that. Our biggest problem is, hey, tuck your shirt in and a little bit of, smart mouth back and forth. There's nothing that can't be handled without a doubt. So.
If a child get real ruly and you have to suspend them, do you suspend them?
Oh, yeah. We'll do the typical progressive discipline. Start with contact home, start with some detentions, lunch detention or after-school detention, Saturday school detention, which is separate than the Saturday school academic piece. It's a detention piece, to maybe a day of in-school suspension, a couple of days of in-school suspension, to out-of-school suspension. I mean, it's progressive,
Okay. All right.
It's very, very gray, of course.
Okay, thank you.
One more quick follow-up.
One more quick.
Yeah, and then I'm done, I promise. Just going back to the profit piece, if you guys could get back to us with that data, I would be curious to know, and Ms. Owens may know, what percentage actually goes, what percentage is it 2%? Is it 50%? And I would be interested, so if you guys could follow up with that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mr. Cross and Mr. Simpson, thank you for being here tonight and for sharing with us pertinent information about Governor's Charter School. We wish you every success because all of these children in this community belong to us.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you, sir. Much success.
Appreciate y'all very much.
All right.
Move approval, 1801.
Is there a motion? It's been moved by, who was that? Wood, second by Lewis Butler. Rasmussen. Where am I? All in favor of the question.
Aye.
Aye. Opposes the nay. It passes unanimously. Thank you, sirs. 18.02, third-party contract with one-on-one learning for provisions of Title I services to Trinity Catholic School. Is there a speaker, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am. I believe Ms. Owens was going to answer any questions on 1802 and 1803.
All right. Ms. Owens, the Steel Magnolia.
I don't know if you've got specific questions or if you want me to just kind of explain to you why we have this item on the agenda and what we have to do related to private schools
Right,
Title
just
I
explain,
programs.
please. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's been a requirement for many years that if private schools choose to participate, they opt in, and they have children that actually are eligible, that a school district has to provide Title I services within that private school. We're not providing services to benefit the school. We're required to provide services to benefit the children. The funds are generated based on the number of students that live in our Title I zone that are free reduced lunch. So we have schools, we have 11 private schools that generated money that chose to participate this year, and they're anywhere from 70 students to 3 in the private schools that chose to participate. Now, children are chosen for services in a different way. They must live in Title I school zones, but they also must be in need of services. They do not have to be free reduced lunch. We are required by statute, by law, by federal law, and the requirements are tougher now because of ESSA to consult with these schools to determine what services are going to be provided. We're to work together in developing a service delivery plan which defines what the services will be. We're also supposed to work with parents and with the private school teachers, not just the teachers that are working in the program that we're providing, but with teachers that are in the school to help them better serve the Title I students that are there. We've spent a lot of time this year in looking at the programs, maybe a greater focus because ESSA also changed the way we fund these programs. In the past, you've had a per pupil allocation that was sort of backed into based on the funding that was available. And this year, the funds had to come off the top of our Title I budget before anything else came off the top, which means that our private schools are actually generating more money per student than our schools are receiving more money because we have to take administrative cost and set asides for DJJ and homeschool students, homeless students, and our parent involvement monies before we actually decide on the per pupil allocation for our students. So we're really looking at the programs that are in schools. Again, they've been in schools a long time. We've typically contracted these the organizational responsibilities and the educational responsibilities. We've contracted these out to a person that didn't work in the district for as long as I can remember. And we're not doing that this year. So we're studying the programs and we're deciding whether or not what we've got in place is working, is effective and efficient, and or whether or not we need to change them. And we had 2 schools who, since before I actually took over Title I, who've been asking for a third-party contract. We're hoping that their relationship with the school district continues to grow. I think we've got a positive relationship with all of them right now, but they really, really wanted to try a third-party contract. What I'll have to tell you is the money that is generated by these programs go to these programs. They don't come back to us. We're encouraged to have them spend all their money before the end of the school year. So the money for the contracts was earned by the schools, or by the students that are in the school. So what happens is a third party comes in, they provide all the educational services. In this case, One-on-One provides a blended model. They use iReady, which we've just started using, along with face-to-face instruction. They bring in all their supplementary materials. They do an assessment of the students pre, post, and during the school year, and they developed a plan for every individual student, which is a very good model. And these schools could afford this program. We're thinking that it's we have a good opportunity to look at a program, to see if it works for our schools, to see if we want to do something similar to this, because we're really not doing this type of program in any of our private schools. And the Trinity Catholic School and John Paul both wanted to try the model, and we spent a lot of time studying the vendors that were out there. This vendor was one that they could afford, who was willing to work with us, and who has good research and some experience, and appears to have a very quality program. So we think the services will be exceptional.
Thank you. Questions? We just saw the one-on-one, and we're wondering if there were going to be an additional cost to us as a district, and I'm hearing that that is not the case.
That is not the case.
Right.
We will still be responsible for fully monitoring this program. So we will be in there every week for the first 3 months, and then at least monthly after that.
Thank you. All right. We appreciate the information. Okay. 18 point. I need a motion to receive this information, please, ladies, women of the board. 1803.
Move approval 1802, I believe.
1802, is it? I'm moving too fast. Okay. All right. Moved by Strickland, second by Wood. Question. Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Same. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Owen. Now, 18.3. Third-party contract with one-on-one learning for provisions of Title I services for John Paul Catholic School.
Move approval.
Second. Moved by Strickland, second by Rasmussen. Questions from anyone? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The same. It passes unanimously. 18.04, Purvis Gray and Company. This is an engagement letter for district financial audit and audit of school internal accounts for year 6/30/2018. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. This engagement letter, it outlines the services that will be provided by Purvis Gray and Company to perform our district financial audit and our audit of school internal accounts for our fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. This is the first year of this contract, and it just outlines the services and the fees. If you all will recall, the audit committee served as our selection committee to select our new external independent auditing services, and they served as that committee in accordance with statute. And they actually established the criteria, they interviewed the firms, and they provided recommendations to the superintendent for the 3 top-ranked firms. And Purvis Gray was actually the top-ranked firm, and they were selected and approved by this board at the September 5th meeting. So this is the first year of a contract. That's a 5-year contract that has an option for renewal each year for the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Paul.
Thank you.
Move approval
Second.
by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Lewis Butler. Questions by Ms. Rasmussen?
Just to clarify, we are going to have 2 separate reports, 2 audit reports, one for internal accounts and one for the district accounts.
Yes, ma'am, we will. We've done some research on that, and actually the Florida statute just changed in August of 2017 that now allows us to have two separate reports. So I have confirmed with the firm that they will be providing 2 separate reports for this June 30th, 2018 fiscal year.
Thank you very much.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The same. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Levitra Paul. 18.05 is a public hearing with adoption. The superintendent recommends, following a public hearing, approval of amendments to policy 5200, compulsory school attendance, effective October 11th, 2017. Dr. Rogers is at the podium. Mr. Superintendent, is there something you want to say prior?
We've advertised this, Madam Chair. If you have any questions, Dr. Rogers is here to clarify any questions you may have. We've discussed this in prior meetings.
Yes, we did.
Move approval. Second.
Move approval by Strickland, second by...
Real quick, there are no speakers. We do need
There
to go through
are
that.
no speakers. There are no speakers. Okay.
So, a public hearing.
It was a public hearing. Second by Rasmussen. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The same. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and Mr. Superintendent. 18.06 is a public hearing for adoption. The superintendent recommends, following a public hearing, approval of amendments to policy 8100.01, school currency, effective October the 11th, 2017. No speakers?
No speakers, Madam Chair.
And Dr. Pridgeon's here, and we've discussed this thoroughly, I think, over the last...
Move approval. Second.
3 months.
Okay, it's been moved and approved. Do you still want to talk to us?
Oh, I'm
Dr.
good.
No.
If y'all approve it, we're good.
Okay, and we have talked about this. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. 18.0. What happened now? Oh, okay. 18.07. The superintendent recommends approval of the engineering selection committee. Recommendation, McGinnis and Fleming Engineering, Inc. for RFQ 403-2018, professional engineering consulting services for Cobb Middle School underground water line replacement project.
Yes, and since the superintendent talked about 40 years ago at Raw, I thought I'd talk about 43 years ago at Cobb, where I went.
Oh, okay.
So a few years ahead, that was some good years. But anyway, 1807.
How many years were you there?
As you can see.
Just kidding.
And that's why we're replacing those water pipes there. We need an engineer to do it because
Is it a junior high then or a middle school?
It was a middle school.
Oh, okay.
It's the first part of the middle schools.
Okay.
So anyway, that 18.07 is where we have an engineer we're asking to go and make a contract with them in this item. That is old water systems. We're putting new water systems. We'll let you know these next three are actually water systems. These are coming from the maintenance side. What we're trying to do is get most of the pipes overhead now because of the soil in all of our schools. So we're back on that schedule of replacing water mains, and we have to have the engineering firms to do it.
Move approval. Second.
Moved by Strickland, second by Rasmussen. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Pridgeon. 18.08, the superintendent recommends approval of the engineering selection committee recommendation. H2 Engineering, Inc. for RFQ 404-2018, professional engineering consultant services for NIMS Middle School underground water line replacement project.
Same process, older pipes, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more detailed because we're going to have to go a little bit farther out to the street to get to it.
Move approval.
Moved by Strickland, second by Lewis Butler. Questions from the women of the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 18.09, the superintendent recommends approval of the engineering selection committee recommendation, McGinnis and Fleming Engineering, Inc. for RFQ 405-2018, professional engineering consultant services for Riley Elementary School underground water line replacement.
This is the third of these projects, and this is at Riley, an older system as well that has a little bit more, so we're having to go with an engineer to set that system up for us.
Move approval.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Wood. Questions from the women of the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. 18.10, the superintendent recommends approval of the engineering selection committee recommendation, McGinnis and Fleming Engineering, Inc. for RFQ 406-2018, professional engineering consultant services for W.T. Moore Elementary School chiller and broiler replacement project.
1810 is a selection committee recommendation for the boiler chiller. With board approval, we'll negotiate a contract and bring back to the board.
Move approval by Ms. Wood, did I hear? Second by Ms. Rasmussen. Questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Albritton. I guess we need to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. All right, Dr. Pridgeon is up again. The superintendent recommends approval for the certification of applicants seeking pre-qualifications for bid in Lien County School Board construction projects.
These are our, we bring them to you twice a month where we pre-qualify all of our bidders on projects. And like I say, after you approve them tonight, they'll be on our website tomorrow morning.
Move approval.
Moved by Strickland, second by Lewis Butler. No questions from the women of the board. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 1812, the superintendent recommends approval of RAM Construction and Development, LLC, change order number 1, Canopy Oaks Elementary School, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning project, RFQ number 372-2017. Mr. Albritton.
Item 18, I lost place, 1812 is a change order to return unused funds.
You can just stop right there. We don't really need
Okay.
We're getting some money back. Maybe go on.
Move approval. Second. Seriously.
We're getting some money back, and we get excited when that happens, in case the audience is wondering what's happening. It's moved for approval by Rasmussen, second by Striplin.
Lewis Butler.
Second by Lewis Butler. Questions from the board, women? None. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 1813, Mr. Albritton.
1813 is a change order for RAM construction at Cobb Middle School. The district added additional lockers to the project, which added an increase of 152 days. This is days only with no funds.
Move approval.
Move the superintendent's recommendation. Striplin, second by Wood. Questions from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. All right. 18, where am I? 14?
1814 is a change order for RAM construction. This was the emergency repairs to the structure at Sale High School. It's a return of $61,708.60.
Move approval.
All right. Move approval by Rasmussen, second by Wood. Questions from the board? Seeing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Did I miss 18.13?
No, ma'am.
No, I didn't. Great. Let's move
So,
right on.
so Danny, the total cost of that project was just over 38?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And that fixed the problem,
Yes, sir.
hopefully? Okay.
It's taken care of.
61,000 return. Okay. 18.15. The superintendent recommends approval of RAM construction release of retainage. Retainage.
Yes, ma'am.
Last time I said that. I know. Canopy.
Canopy Oaks Elementary School.
Give me some chocolate.
Move approval.
Canopy Oaks Elementary School, heating, ventilation, air condition. Approval by Rasmussen.
Second.
Second by Striplin. Questions from the board? None. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Albritton. Oh, 18.16.
1816 is also a release of retainage at Sale High School. This is a closed contract.
What's a closed contract?
Releasing the retainage is the end of the contract, giving the last of their money, and then we close the contract out. The project's closed at that point.
I thought that would be a good summary of whatever else is in this paragraph. Move approval by Wood, second by Lewis Butler. Questions from the board?
Is there any reason why this wasn't included with point 14? Why are they separate?
The way it's set up right now, we do have a release retainage in the board documents, but the way it's set up right now is we do the change order first and then the release retainage. That closes the contract at that point.
Okay.
Okay. Did somebody offer motion? Did somebody move it?
Yeah, we're good. Yes.
You're good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. 1817, the superintendent recommends approval to the contract award to Commercial Roofing, LLC DBA Login Roofing Heritage Trail School Building. Where is that? 3 re-roof project big number 5495 2018.
This is a hard bid to replace the roof at Building 3 at Heritage Trails.
Move approval. Heritage or
Pace, the new pace.
I believe, yeah.
That was it. Move approval by Rasmussen. Second by, who did that? Striplin will do.
Sure.
Striplin. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. This is a new address. 18.18, the superintendent recommends approval of Clemens, Rutherford and Associates, short form agreement, J. Michael Connelly Elementary School, exterior wall deterioration.
We're asking that the board approve that we enter into an agreement with CRA, Clemens Rutherford, to go look at the damage, or not, I'll say damage, the deterioration of Michael Connelly Elementary School, approximately 9 years old. And we have a substantial damage going in the exterior, where we have the lathe, and the exterior of that building is starting to fall off. and we're asking them, a professional engineering firm, to come look at it and give us their professional opinion of what's causing this. So we ask for your permission to enter into this agreement with them.
Okay.
Move approval.
Move approval, Ms. Wood, second.
Second.
By Ms. Rasmussen. Question.
Is this the one, Roseanne, you asked about, that would there be any possible legal ramification, and is this what they're being engaged to do, to determine if there's any?
Yes, I can defer to, would you like to pick it up here?
Okay, well, my understanding is that Clemens Rutherford is going to be looking from the, what are they again?
Structural engineering.
Structural.
Engineering.
Yeah, they're engineers, but they're looking at the structure of it.
Yes, at the same time, any potential legal remedies that board may avail itself of, that's being looked at by a separate law firm, Dunlap and Shipman. I believe a PTSA.
It's already been executed.
Not to
yes.
exceed amount. Yes, and you guys have been provided a copy of it.
Yes.
So they are going to be looking at the time frame. It's a long period of time from construction until now, and more importantly, from the time that the district first became aware of the issue until now. So they're looking to see whether we've got, whether we're still within the limitations period for instituting any kind of action. But there is a firm that's been retained under one of our PTSAs.
You should have a copy of that on.
Yes.
You have a copy of that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do. I guess one of the things I thought of when I saw this, the school is what, 9 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
And that seems a pretty early time for walls to be deteriorating.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the same company that we're using that constructed a school? Probably not. To look at
No, ma'am,
the
they have to be a
damages?
separate entity. That's why we're asking you to
Make
go
sure.
with them.
Okay,
They're not the same architectural firm.
great. All right. So what did we just do?
So they're going to come back to us with some kind of report on what
Yes.
they found and if they think anybody was negligible or.
Right, and they're in the process. After you approve this, they'll start immediately, and we'll keep you informed as they unfold.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that was a second?
Yes.
I believe there was a,
Yes.
yes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? It passes unanimously.
Thank you for including the pictures. It's very helpful.
Yes. 1819, Mr. Albritton.
1819 is the contract for Hoist Art to do design at Springwood Elementary School project. That is a cafeteria expansion and dining renovation.
Move approval.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Wood. Questions, comments?
Yes.
Ms. Striplin?
Is this dollar amount, is that the estimated cost of the project itself or just for the,
That's their fees,
that's just their fees?
just their fees. The estimated cost is $2.8 million.
Ooh, for a
The window repair.
cafeteria?
It's a kitchen expansion, remodel, dining expansion, renovation.
And this is at Springwood?
This is at
Springwood.
Springwood Elementary.
In School Board District 4.
Is this because of outdated facility? Is
Well,
it?
we've been making all the kitchens full service and expanded the dining for the student capacity there, so they're not serving lunch from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And what we've done, we have two schools left, Springwood and Chairs, and both contracts are on there for designs tonight.
And it looks like from our numbers on our report, Springwood is over 95% capacity. Are they?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So they have to accommodate the overage.
Gotcha.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. 1820, the recommendation to approve MLD Architects LL Professional Architectural Services for Kate Sullivan School Building 1 Window Replacement Project, RFQ 402 2018.
This is bringing the contract back for board approval for MLD to design the window replacement.
Move approval.
Moved by Striplin, second by Lewis Butler.
Are they on the historic register?
Yeah.
Kate Sullivan?
No.
No. Okay.
They're getting
Kate
there.
Sullivan is not,
Okay.
Okay.
could be.
Time.
Those windows desperately need to be replaced,
Uh-huh.
but that was a good question. Think they're not, which makes this process a little easier.
Yeah.
So we have a few more years for that. You've heard the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. Turn the page. 1821, the superintendent recommends board approval for DAC Architects, Inc. Professional Architectural Services Contract for Charles Elementary School, project RFQ 400-218.
This is a contract with DAG Architects, bringing it to the board for approval to design the Cheers Elementary School kitchen expansion, dining renovation.
Move approval.
Moved by Wood, second by Lewis Butler will do. Do you second it?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 1822, the superintendent recommends board approval for the submittal of the school district of Lien County's tentative 5-year facilities work plan 2017-2018 to the Florida Department of Education, Office of Educational Facilities, DOE. Dr. Pridgeon.
Yes, ma'am. This is the plan that we submit every year this time, and we're hoping that you approve this tonight so we can get it to them tomorrow morning. And this basically lays out what we're going to be supposedly doing the next 5 years and putting the budget side on that. We overlay the budget from Merrill Shop and put it how we're going to spend those dollars for 5 years out. The real dollars are in 17-18, the first column that you see. Those are ones that we are actually using this year. That's why you've approved the first of those 12 that you just approved. Those are all in that plan. And as we move forward with the superintendent's priorities, those are all noted in this 5-year. And we will be, I wanted to give you a shout out, we're going to be going real quickly the next board meetings because we'll have a lot of agenda items bringing forward this. And if Debbie Bates is at home, I know you've met her before. She's our contract specialist. I know she's watching tonight. She's been very busy because even though we approve these, and it seems there's a lot of work that goes behind these contracts and setting these meetings up. So Debbie, shout out to you. So, this is the 5-year plan.
Can you, Madam Chair, Dr. Pridgeon, could you just highlight for the viewing public kind of what the highlights are of the superintendent's priorities that we're approving?
Okay. The superintendent has charged us, as you've heard before, he has some priorities, and those priorities start with this summer. We're going to go into Fairview Middle School with their gym projects. We're going to start some site work at Rickards High School, trying to bring those ball fields back on their campus. They're, as you know, they're away from that campus, making that school whole. We're also going down to Woodville, and we're going to start some site work down there. We were able to acquire, as you last meeting, that piece of property that adjoins, and we're going to put ball fields at Woodville. And then we're also going to do some site work at W.T. Moore because we have now property next to W.T. Moore that can alleviate some of the problems that we've had on Dempsey Mayo Road. So those are the next ones the superintendent's charged us with. They're in this plan. And then looking out forward, we got some more work to do at Rickards as far as buildings and new classrooms looking out in the next couple of years, as well as Fairview putting new classes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Superintendent, anything?
Oh, well done. Well done.
And those are all noted in this plan. As you see, we put out 5 years. Now, know that as things come up, we can add to that each year because this is a working document.
And also, Dr. Pridgeon, even though this plan is not edged in stone, it's not written in stone.
No, ma'am. It works with this board, and we update it each year.
All right.
Move approval.
Moved by Woods, approved by second by Lewis Butler. All in favor, aye. That's a question?
Yes.
Ms. Stripling.
All right, thank you. This is painful to me. Again, there is no forward thought to my district that is busting at the seams. And I know this is nothing new. We go round and round about this. It's out there with the growth of Weelaunee. In fact, I was looking at the chart, which I've loved these numbers. This was awesome. And I plotted. I wish I could put this up on the overhead. I've plotted all the schools around the Weelaunee development, which is completely my district, and every single school is above 95% capacity, with the exception of DeSoto and Gilchrist, which each have room for about maybe 40 or 50 kids. And I have no idea where these students are going to go to school. No idea. I feel like in 5 years, this community is going to look back at us and say, why were we not planning for this? Not only Weelaunee, but it's my understanding there's growth going to be to the north of that. There's going to be growth toward the Mahan side. There's going to be growth toward Miss Rasmussen's district over between Meridian and Bannerman. We are busting at the seams as far as residential development on that side of town, and yet our schools are at
between 95 and over 100% capacity. I'm extremely concerned about the high school situation. If you look at the Wulani development and take my district and put the high schools that corner it, all three of them are between 95 and 100% capacity. And I don't know where these kids are going to go. And I'm afraid our community in several years is going to look back at us and say, why did you not see this? Why did you not see this coming? And I know that there are many issues on this board, and we all represent different sides and different issues, and we hear about the Tharp Street corridor all the time, and I'm going to start calling this the Wulani corridor. I don't know. I'm going to find a name for it because the need is mighty, and I'm just very, very concerned that there is nowhere in this 5-year plan. There's no, I don't see concern for this neighborhood, and I'm concerned for them.
As well, you should be. The previous plan that was approved by this board included an $80 million project for a new high school on Tram Road, as well as additions to Rickards High School and converting Fairview Middle School to an alternative school to be used to move the kids from Pace there. As an alternative, we moved the kids from Pace into Heritage Trails. We co-located adult ed on Lively's campus to save those dollars. I've spoken against a $60 million high school on Tram Road. The Department of Education 3 times has now rejected it, even though the board sent it as part of their 5-year plan that was voted on and approved. I share your similar concerns. However, the facilities at Fairview and Rickards especially need attention, and they need attention immediately. What's happened with the money that we bonded, we paid a lot of attention to certain schools, and some schools were neglected, including those 2. And that, to me, has been completely unacceptable. In making plans, looking ahead long term, we are looking at Moore. That's why we purchased the property next to Moore. The students in the bottom part of Wulani are all zoned to Moore. We're looking at adding capacity at Moore Elementary School. The middle school they're zoned for, south of I-10, is Cobb. So we talked to the principal yesterday at Cobb and looking at opportunities there to potentially increase enrollment at Cobb Middle School. As far as their high schools are concerned, yeah, it's going to be Lincoln or Lincoln High School in Wulani. I don't know as far as a new high school in the Northeast. We have $250 million of capital debt. We pay $26 million a year just to pay off what we currently owe. For us to go out now and borrow more money, to me, was physically irresponsible. We're trying to live within our means and do the very best we can. We have to get into Fairview Middle School. I've made that commitment. We have to get into Rickards High School. And then we can make improvements at Moore and at Cobb. With our high school situation, I'm going to hold the line firm that these schools are at capacity about choice and reassignment. That the answer is going to be no. If you live in that zone, by all means. If you move into that zone, by all means, you can attend those schools. And yes, I think after we complete work at Fairview Middle School and at Rickards High School and down at Woodville, the K-8 school, then we need to look forward. Hopefully by that time we'll have paid off some of this debt we currently have incurred and can look to potentially borrow more money to look at options in the Northeast in your zone. That's why I've spoke against the high school. The Department of Education has rejected the $60 million high school. I think this is a lot better use of our taxpayer dollars to look at our existing schools and to make updates and upgrades to what we have currently in place and then to look towards the future. But I agree with you, it's a concern of mine as well.
Ms. Rasmussen?
I don't want to put you on the spot tonight, so maybe this is a topic for another day, but I do recall watching the presentation with regard to Wulani at the Chamber Retreat, and the developers had maps, and they had a parcel of property designated for a school. So maybe at a future date we could talk about how that would work and what that would look like and when we would need to start planning.
And we've had some communications with the city because as part of that agreement to relieve them of any concurrency issue, there was a 7-acre parcel that was carved out as a potential site. Well, 7 acres is not really big enough. So I think we can continue to have communication or conversations with the city, which does own several hundred acres in the north part of Wulani, and maybe work a trade. But right now, the commitment is to Fairview and to Rickards to get Sealy ready for new students, to get Cobb ready for new students, and then look in the future in the Northeast at our middle school and our high school situations as well. But again, I share the same concern you do.
I know you do, and I appreciate that, and I do appreciate the attention drawn to the schools that are needing it and that are getting it. But I will, on behalf of my district, keep voicing that concern. I would interject, and I don't know what the right answer is, but there are other ways to raise the funds for new schools other than borrowing. And whatever that looks like, I hope that our community engages in that discussion. I hope that we continue conversations with our chamber. They keep, there's a very strong push to retain young talent in Tallahassee and to keep them here, keep those graduates from FSU, from FAMU, from all of our great institutions. We want them to live here. We want them to make a home here. And the next step in that conversation is they will stay because we're getting the retail, we're getting the restaurants, we're getting the commercial development, we're getting the residential. The next point is our school system. They will stay because of our schools. And we have a great school system, but we want to make sure that we have room for them. And I know that you're adamantly opposed to adding portables. I know that that is not something you want to do. But I'm just, again, afraid we're looking at a crisis in my district here within the next 5 to 10 years. And I appreciate your mutual concern for that and hope to see that in the plan at some point.
It absolutely will be, and that's why I said I'm committed to, Miss Lewis Butler and I have had these conversations about Rickards High School, and with the $75 million that was bonded with the last round of half-penny, we did a lot of, and you all as a board did a lot of good work, but there's still work to be done. Unfortunately, the money's gone, and now we're having to kind of live within our means to finish the job at Fairview and at Rickards, and then to start looking towards the future developments in the Northeast.
Mr. Lewis Butler?
Yeah, Superintendent Hannah, at Rickards, I know we put millions and millions of dollars in Rickards, and it still needs millions and millions of dollars. I hope this time that we don't just take millions and millions of dollars, put a Band-Aid, because it's not going to help Rickards at all. We're just throwing our money in a hole. So we need to really have some expertise to really look at the overall Rickards structure and see what we really need there. Not just fixing a wing or tearing a wing down and fixing one bathroom when you got 4 bathrooms dilapidated in the harbor. We have to look at the whole picture. So I hope we take this, but not just a man doing this because he thinks this needs to be done, but we need some expertise to look at Rickards High School because it's deplorable.
Well, I hear you loud and clear. I visited that campus a number of times, and we will be very methodical in this process of how we go about like similar to what they did at Dillard High School. We met with the young man that's on the advisory council in Dillard. We did the same thing at Lincoln High School years ago. We made great improvements at that site without having to change locations altogether. And I feel like we can accomplish the same thing at James S. Rickards High School.
I would appreciate that if we look at that.
Okay. Mr. Superintendent, I certainly don't want to put you on the spot either, but I think the elephant in the room right now might be as a result of the Sunday front page article from the Tallahassee Democrat, and I believe it said resegregation. So what I would like to ask is, having read that article and doing what we're trying to do now, what is your plan given the way the contents of that article read and hearing what we all have to say about schools and good schools in Tallahassee? And just before you answer that, a thought off the top of my head. We have excellent, I think, administrators and wonderfully excellent teachers, okay? So we've got that working for us. What is it that is causing, I guess, there even the need to be the topic resegregation? And I don't think I'm answering my own question, but what's your plan? What do you see? As a board, we certainly can't do anything about where people move. So what do we do so that this board is not saddled with, the board did it, they made all of this happen? I don't think we did. So give us your thoughts.
We certainly shifted gears from,
well,
and it's good. You know what? But this is not going to be my plan. This is going to be our plan.
Okay.
It's going to be our plan collectively together as a superintendent and a board, and I have some very smart people over here and behind me that can help all of us. I think probably an unintended consequence of school choice led to this, led to where we are, and it has opened up a discussion. It's not an easy conversation for us to have as a community as to this, as to why this happened. But I think we've all seen it. No one said anything about it, and now this report is coming out and kind of thrown it in our face and said, okay, here it is. Now what are you going to do about it? And, you know, quite honestly, I don't have all the answers, but I know this. I know we have people on this board, like we did with concurrency and Submittal, that'll think outside the box to show how can we bring diversity back to all of our schools. How can we first draw a line when it comes to school choice? Because I think we were trying to draw kids back to the public school system that were in other places. And some of those decisions, although well-intended, may have led to some of the issues we're facing now. And we used to be we had a school zone, and wherever school zone you lived, that's where you went to school. And now that the laws have changed, and not only have they opened up the borders with us inside of Leon County, you have residents from other counties coming. Well, kids that have the wherewithal, the means to provide transportation, they can go wherever they want, basically, if there's room. But for a lot of those other kids, they are where they are. But I will say this, and I visited probably 32 of our 42 schools in the last month. Man, we have some amazing administrators. I'm not just blowing smoke. I mean, I'm just sitting like a photo political. We have some amazing administrators that to the detail are individualizing instruction and plans for every single kid at their elementary school. I mean, Jillian and it's amazing. I am blown away. And it goes back to school grades and labeling our schools, and a lot of it's really unfair because you're comparing apples to oranges. But how do we get back, and how do we bring diversity back to our schools? That's a $1 million question that we are going to. But I believe together we can solve it.
Well, and we look forward to that. We know that it's going to be a very hard conversation. And I'm proud of our administrators that are under your management every day and the teachers. But when I look at our schools and we tout them as being the best schools, I know that we're going to look at what is happening in those schools and the curriculum. The Southside High School is an idea that is doing whatever it is doing right now. You've said no to it, and others are still pushing it. And I'm just wondering when in the future, if we will take a look at the kinds of programs that could be happening in all of our high schools that would attract students from all areas of our high schools. Because if we have the programs right, I suspect there would be some parents who would want to bring children into the high school. And I'm not trying to solve this, but at this moment, but
no, I understand that. I lived in a school, spent most of my life in a school that was built in the 1930s, and brick and mortar on its own do not make a school.
That's right.
You know, it's the culture, it's the history, it's the tradition, and there's a lot of rich history and tradition at James S. Rickards High School. My mother-in-law was in the first graduating class.
Sure.
I mean, there's a rich history at that school, but it's like we've done in with other decisions. How can we get creative to think outside the box to bring the diversity back into all of our schools? I would, you know, in years past, we'd have thought this through. If we'd have built all of our schools on the midline of the county and then taking some neighborhoods from north of Mahan and some south of Tennessee Street and brought them together and combined them, it's a really cool thing. So I see what we have at some of our schools like Lincoln and Leon and Sullivan and Raw and Cobb, and then you look at some of our other schools and unfortunately they don't have that diversity. But that's something our kids desperately need. They need to understand how to assimilate and how to be with kids that don't look like them, don't act like them, don't come from the same neighborhoods, you know. And that's going to be our challenge, I think, moving forward.
Well, we're going to be in this challenge with you, and hopefully we can get to a better place. So thank you tonight, sir, for...
One comment on that.
Oh, there was a comment? Yes.
I just want to make a comment on that. Several of us are, and we've talked about it in the board, are working on choice and magnet schools, and I think what you're talking about there may pertain to this. Mm-hmm. Looking at what special programs we're offering that are attractive, that's been used as a magnet in many, many districts, working on desegregation.
Yes.
And so we have an active committee working on that right now. We'll be coming back to the board with some, and it's going to be a long-term solution, because this has been a long-term problem. If you read that report thoroughly, it has been decades in the making, and it has had a lot to do with different Supreme Court decisions. Originally, we had a strong desegregation Supreme Court decision, and the schools in Florida were at the top of the heap in getting desegregated, and then those went away in favor of neighborhood schools. And then we've had, as you know, if you've lived in Tallahassee a long time, you've seen how the development has gone, and it's been pretty self-selective. So we're tackling a big problem as a community, not just the school board, because it has to do with where people live. Right. And
student housing.
It's student housing, affordable housing, having affordable housing in the northern part of this town, as well as, mixed income in the southern part of the town. So I know that the city government and the county government are working on these issues, and we need to work together, because it's really the kind of problem that the school system can't solve on its own. But I am excited about some of the work we're doing in the Magnet School Committee, and also looking at the choice policy and really making a sales pitch to our community about what the superintendent was saying is how good our schools are and what they have to offer, because grades are just stereotypes, and they really don't tell about what the school's about. And I think if we can get that word out as a school board and a school system, a lot of people might just come back.
I hope they do, because your address does not dictate your success.
Exactly.
Exactly. That was a good segue, wasn't it? Thank you.
Oh, Madam Chair?
Yes, Miss Richardson.
So I was drawn to the public school system by the pre-IB program at Fairview. And so I came from Florida High. And attending Fairview really opened my eyes to how much the public school system had to offer. Students who did come from an array of backgrounds and who just, would never have ordinarily come together, especially with the IB program. And I learned about people who were so different than myself. And I think even at Rickards, the IB program really does diversify the population. So I think it's really important, like you were saying, to accentuate those good, positive aspects and benefits of programs like that in Leon County schools, because they do have so much to offer. And if I can, just really quick, kind of backtracking, what do you use to determine the improvements that are priorities for the schools?
Are you speaking?
The work plan.
Kind of like with the plan, like
construction.
Board Member Richardson, are you speaking at individual sites or district-wide priorities?
Well, district-wide, site.
So there's a capital outlay committee that meets. I mean, of course, I came with some of my priorities, which was our Southside high schools coming in. But then the capital outlay committee they look at the revenue we bring in, and they allocate those resources based on my recommendations, and then other people on that committee have recommendations as well.
That's a great question. I'm still a little hazy on that one as well.
Good question.
Good question.
Did that answer it at all? Or?
You did, yeah. Thank you.
Board Member Richardson, what else is on your mind tonight?
Oh, that was definitely an issue coming in that was interesting to learn about. I know there was a lot of talk about the new high school, and last year I had a theory of knowledge class, and we would debate a lot about whether we thought a new high school was necessary. And then when you, Superintendent Hannah, was elected, just interesting hearing that how you wanted to make the improvements to Rickards, because there's a lot of improvements to be made. Definitely can say that going there. But yeah, so just interesting hearing, all that goes on behind the scenes that we don't hear about, at least my peers and I, about, getting the school approved by the Board of Education or the Department of Education and all of that. So it's interesting.
Great. Ms. Richardson, I'm going to right now ask you if at every meeting, for the little segment, Ms. Richardson, what's on your mind? Just give it some thought. I think we ought to hear from you, okay?
Yes,
Thank you.
If I might just real quick, that was an amazing point you made, and I love the fact that you're talking about it from a student perspective. And I know Ms. Wood has been very vocal about let's discuss the programs that can bring more diversity. And I would love to know if the students are engaged in that conversation. And if they're not, they completely should be. And one's from every high school,
Right.
You know, what would bring students from one school to another, and love to hear their perspective on it. I mean, ultimately the parents drive those decisions, but kids have a lot to say. So I think that would be a really neat conversation for them to engage in.
That would be a great conversation for your student advisory council.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, because one day Ricketts is probably going to look real good, but what's going to be going on inside? You know, I'm looking good tonight, but I've got reflux, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and so what's going to be happening in the schools to keep kids, you got to have a little humor, you know, these topics are so heavy, to keep kids engaged in learning. You follow me? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Good job. Right. You have a motion and a second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye with this asterisk. Can I put an asterisk on my aye?
No, either it's an aye or it isn't.
Huh?
Aye or an A?
Aye with an asterisk. Still, I would like to see some. Next year, I'd like to see something about the growth of my district. There's my asterisk.
Okay. She's asking for that. So it passes unanimously. Okay, so now we're at 18.23. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Good job. Settlement case, Naomi Belay versus Lien County School Board.
Move approval.
Moved by Rasmussen.
Second.
Second by Wood. Questions? None. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Settlement case SWNVB.
Move approval.
Moved by Rasmussen. Second by
Wood.
Wood. Questions? None. It passes unanimously.
Vote.
Oh, you got to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, you're ready. Okay, good. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. 18.25, amended 2017-2018 calendar. Moved by Lewis.
Okay.
Second by...
I'll second it, and then can we have a little briefing?
Discussion. Dr. Gale.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent. If you will recall, we talked about this during the agenda review. As you know, Hurricane Irma, Governor Rick Scott, commanded that all state offices and schools were closed on Friday, September the 8th, and Monday, September the 11th. As you know, several of our schools were used for shelters. Those shelters closed on Tuesday, September the 12th at noon. There's a lot of cleanup, a lot of things that had to go on before we could make sure that our campuses were ready to receive our students, our teachers, and our parents. And so that's what took place on September the 12th. School was closed on the 13th after having numerous conversations, superintendent led, with administrators. At all of our schools, we decided that that would be an in-service day. During that day, we had instructional and support personnel involved in getting ready to receive our students on that Thursday. The governor waived the 8th and the 11th, so we had 2 days that we were asked, do we have enough instructional hours already within our calendar? And we do. That paperwork, after your approval, will be sent to the Florida Department of Education for final approval.
Questions?
So how many hours are we left with now?
It depends upon the level. I'll start with high school. Right now, high school has 1 additional day that they can miss without making up anything. However, keep in mind that during the before the winter break and at the end of the school year, those are half days. So depending on if we do have any more storms or anything of that nature, therein lie 3 more days. The middle schools and the elementary schools are fine.
Fine, meaning they have more than...
Yes, ma'am, more than that 1 day.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to receive this? I have a motion. Yes. Question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Gale. Item 19, information items, upcoming meetings. I think we know what those are. Any reports from board liaisons? None. Superintendent comments to date?
I've made enough tonight. I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Concerns continuing from board members? Seeing none, new issues from board members? Well, I do have just one quick issue. You do too? No? I read in the Tallahassee Democrat this weekend that our former attorney Jeff Wallen has now been elected as great attorneys in America, in the United States. So we say, congratulations, Jeff.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. You can give a hand to that. That's right. Let him know that. Today, I attended the Tallahassee Chamber's Professional Women's Forum, and Billy...
Gay?
No.
Billy and Gay?
No, not Billy, anybody. Lively. Why am I forgetting her name?
Shelley
Bell.
Shelley Bell, wow, was the speaker, and a wonderful, outstanding keynote speaker. Brought the house up and brought it down again. She talked about many items, but to include, particularly for us women, the balancing of family and work and other medical issues that she had gone to. She did an outstanding job, and of course she threw in there what she's doing now out at Lively. So Shelley, I said I would give you a shout out. You did an outstanding job. Thank you all for the presentation, and thank you, Chamber, under the leadership of those dynamic women, for what you do. All right, persons to be heard. I think, yes?
Yes, 3.
We have 3 persons to be heard tonight. Who's first here? Miss Beth Overhart. Miss Overhart, please come to the...
Not Overton? Overton, yeah.
Don't get me
quoted her in the
confused.
paper, Overton.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
the whole
did.
article
You knew who I was.
All right, give us for your address, please, and the topic that you're going to be talking about.
Sure. Beth Overholt, 4130 Faulkner Lane, 32311. I would like to thank the superintendent and the board and really the staff for opening those 11 shelters. That was a big deal in Leon County. That storm, Hurricane Irma, was huge. Dr. Gale talked about the impact to the calendar, but the shelter was a big deal. These are our public schools. They're not just used to educate our children, but they're used to provide safety and shelter in a storm. There is a push in the legislature to not have schools built to these hurricane standards, particularly for our charter schools. And here we are. We needed the shelters all across the state, not just in one little area, but all across the state. So I know we spend a little bit more. I've seen estimates of 5 to 7% more on building schools. I know you've just approved lots and lots of millions and millions of dollars for schools, but we need that for the safety of our community. So I want to thank you for opening those shelters, and particularly the staff that worked many hours, our teachers, our principals, who spent a lot of time taking care of people from Leon County and outside of Leon County. So thanks.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
And they are as good as you say they are, too.
They are.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Overholt. Okay, our second speaker is, and of course, Ms. Overholt knew that she had 3 minutes, and I suspect our next speaker will know the same, is Mr. Wilson Barnes. Mr. Barnes, approach the podium, please. Give us an address for the record.
You've already indicated. And I live at 1949 Setting Sun Trail.
Okay.
And I am here on behalf of the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP, which I am a life member of. I also, as a part of my NAACP work, can remember when the only thing that I could do in this room would be to sweep the floors. And several of you people on the Diaz, same thing. So when I read that article, and my colleagues read that article in the newspaper on Saturday, Leon County School District resegregating, that got our attention in a very traumatic way, almost as traumatically as my Vietnam post-traumatic stress, and others feel similarly in the NAACP. Now, the Tallahassee branch has already impacted the school board. That's why it looks like it does today. Through consent decrees, and we might still be under a consent decree, I'm not sure, Your seat, Ms. Lewis, is a consent decree seat. If we sued so that black folks in Leon County could elect people to the school board of their choice, of their choosing. Now, that article, I recognize, it's not overt racism where administrators are resegregating black children. That ain't happening. That's all illegal. But what we do have here is a heck of a lot of institutional racism. Andrew Gillum was right, folks. Heck of a lot of institutional racism that we've got to get our arms around. And thank you, Madam Chair Later, for not having the guts to surface it. Thank you. And we can tiptoe around it under the guise of choice, but I've said it before. When you talk about choice, make sure you balance it with equality. Otherwise, the minority, they're going to suffer all the time. And this is a country of certainly ruled by the majority, but they've got to take into adequate account minority rights. We ain't going to sit around and tolerate our schools being resegregated, Mr. Superintendent. But we got to change the way we build new schools. We got to change the way we build new schools. We've got to change the zoning that we do for school attendance, and then we can start balancing this choice. Everybody likes to tiptoe around choice. Choice with equality. And so I want to thank you all, and I hope that the NAACP, will be able to cooperate with you. So that we can take this community to the next level. But right now we got problems.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. We hear you loud and clear.
What would you like to do as the NCP? What would you like to do?
Well, the initial idea is to come to grips, and let's think outside the box on how we draw the lines for schools. Okay?
Okay.
Let's think outside the box of how we build new schools. There's definitely an equality issue. We recognized it 20, 30 years ago. Now I know that Rick Scott has his folks in office over there in the state capitol. So we got to also understand that this is a political process and make this an issue and get people out on the stump so we can get people who are going to change some of this stuff. But I think that the NAACP and the school district, we need to get together, start rolling up our sleeves, and talk about how do we change this ship so that it goes in another way. And the emphasis has to come from this community. We can't wait on Rick Scott, and Lord knows we can't wait on Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Our next speaker is Stanley Simms. Mr. Simms, approach the podium, please. You will have 3 moments.
Oh, that's good. 3 moments is longer than 3 minutes.
Well, in that case, 3 minutes.
My name is Stanley Simms. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. I'm very excited. I like you, Mr. Bowen. I commend you for bringing this up, because when I read this morning, I changed my schedule to be here because it is very important. And I think as we go back down memory lane, when I was the co-chair of Overage Committee, this was a problem that we saw coming down the road. And I distinctly remember Mr. Bill Mumford say, Sunday is the most segregated day in America. So we've been talking about this issue. So because of my 3 minutes, I need to move to my solutions, but it's not something that we haven't been discussing. And one solution is, and I love my district members, so I really want you to think that I am not attacking SAIL. I'm not attacking SAIL. I'm not. I love SAIL, but let's look at SAIL. If we want to integrate, when we put SAIL there, we spent $2.3 million in renovation. We built a nice theater. We don't do theater. Now, if you'd have said rapping, if you'd have said something else in clothing design, you need to not just put programs at these schools that only cater to one segment of the community. You need to have a diversity of programs that will cater to both. On the flip side of that, I got to go because I see that light for the change. My children, they went to Roberts Elementary. That's because I bought a single-wide trailer on the northeast side of town. Still got it. But here's the problem that I incurred, Miss Dee Dee Rasmussen. My children wasn't getting any Black history. So it's got to be a balance. Now, what did you say? Because I feel the emails flowing to me. I did something about that. Miss Strickland, you know what I did? I went out in this community and I started the Black History program. We put over $7,000 in Black history media into the media center at Roberts Elementary. So it is there are solutions. We just got to get serious about that because it is important to me. And I've been having to face some of this stuff that my former president wife used to face because people tell me your children speak white. You mean they speak correct English? And so it is important that our children's education has a mixture of that diversity. Because my son, I've got one that can rap, and then I got one that this lady here is using vocabulary words that I had to Google on. You know, but I'm not ashamed of that. I'm very proud of that. And so as we as community leaders, we've got to find a way because this diversity is very important. Miss Woods, I've got a senior, Sheldon, he's sharp in a uniform. He's getting ready to defend this country. And I want him to be able to have the experience of dealing with all kind of people. What a wonderful way to close my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simms. Thank you. Okay, I think we have no further speakers. However, I understand that there are some rattlers in the house who are from the education department.
Stand.
Stand up.
Stand, please.
Stand up.
There are some students here who are from FAMU. Okay, all right. So we've got those older rattlers wanting to do the rattler strike and strike again. So is your professor with you tonight? Or did he send you all to do the assignment?
Early, yeah.
He left early. Thank you all for being here. Unless there's other business, and I suspect not, this meeting is adjourned.